Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 9, Rubicon. This video is part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Discovery, so I have to start with a spoiler warning for Star Trek Discovery up to Season 4, Episode 9. If you're not caught up to this point, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, this was a really good episode. It was a really intense episode. It was what I was hoping for last week, but instead we got poker games and wrestling. But this week it was more focused on the conflict between Burnham and Book and how they love each other yet they're at odds, and how they're working against each other, and the emotional play that comes in that. But this, I talked about Discovery numerous times, and I think this is one of the worst examples where the over sentimentality really hampers the episode. Like, I think overall, they lean too much into the sentimentality of it all. I really don't feel like many modern shows do this. The only one I watched that does it is Discovery, and no Star Trek show has done this before, and I think it's really out of place. Like, understand, like, there's always been camaraderie between the crew, like between Riker and Picard, O'Brien and Bashir. There's always been a closeness, a friendship, but that is different than what I describe, or what I ascribe to Discovery as over sentimentality. Prime example, we get the return of Commander Nan in this episode, and it is good to see her again. I like the role that she plays, but when she first appears and Burnham's like all smiling and happy, it's like, oh, Nan, and they hug, and they're like, oh, and they're talking to Vance, and they're like, oh, me and Nan go way back. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, do you though? I mean, do you really? I mean, you just met. She was serving on the Enterprise. You just met for the control mission in season 2, and as soon as you went into the future together, she immediately left your ship. So do you really go way back? I mean, I suppose in this setting, she's one of the few people who are actually from the 23rd century. And then the end of the episode, they make a point to, like, sort of hug and have a farewell. It's like, oh, the crew are saying don't be long and until you return next. And Burnham was like, yes, yeah, I'm gonna hold you to that. You gotta return. I love you so much. It really infers like this closeness, the sentimentality that's not at all earned. It's just not a matter of simply over sentimentality. It's a matter of telling and not showing as well. Like, O'Brien and Bashir never had to, oh, we love you so much. Oh, we're such a best friend. Oh, we love each other. Oh, blah, blah. Instead, you got that from their interactions. They didn't have to say it all the time. So, and I mean, Bashir O'Brien maybe not, yeah, it was kind of a cliche example. Riker Picard or Beverly and Deanna Troi. Like, any of these friendships you have throughout Star Trek, Harry, Kim, and Tom Paris, like, they don't constantly going around saying, hugging each other and talking about how much they miss each other and how much they love each other. Instead, you get that from their interactions. Anyway, and I didn't get that from their interactions. I'm just being told constantly on Discovery that they're close. I'm like, are they really? Like, do you remember that time when Commander Nan, like, killed Arium because Burnham wouldn't do it, and if Burnham didn't do it, then everyone in the galaxy would have died? That was awesome. I mean, is that really ascribe some closeness to them? However, it does, I will say, on the positive side, I will say it makes Commander Nan kind of the perfect choice for this mission, that she's there because Burnham, she was right. I think they're right to be skeptical of Burnham, that she's be willing to do what's necessary to stop Book. And no one knows that better than Commander Nan, because the whole galaxy would have died had she not been there to kill Arium, something that Burnham wasn't strong enough to do. And so, in that way, it's actually quite fitting that she's there to oversee the mission. I did like, to be fair, I did like some of the interactions between these two characters during the mission. I thought it made total sense that Nan was always talking about trying to has this backup plan to destroy Book's ship, and she's always pushing that plan. And at one point, she's like, I'm going to take command of the ship if you don't do that. And then Burnham's arguing against him. But then Sulu chimes in, is like, we can just settle this, try to see others' perspective, and quotes Dr. Culber and whatnot. That was a bit cheesy. I'm sorry, but it was. And also, I know this is happening throughout the entire season, but I guess, I already talked about it in earlier episodes, how, Culber's a counselor now all of a sudden, and now that seems to be all he is. He's not even a doctor anymore. When did this happen? This is, I don't know. I'm not okay with this. I think it's silly because it just feeds into the over sentimentality of it all. And plus the whole plan is I'm going to talk Book down. I'm going to make him see reason, which I think Nan said earlier in the episode, well, he didn't, see reason earlier when you tried to reason with him. Why would you think he would see reason now? Which she is absolutely correct. Their plan to get Culber to talk him down was stupid. And then we had that scene when they're on the shuttle and we get Bryce, and I just know Bryce's name because they mentioned his name several times in this episode. Bryce and the other dude. I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember their names until they develop the damn characters. Anyway, and they're arguing with each other and that argument felt really fake. It wasn't the same thing, but it felt very reminiscent of all these other side characters earlier in the season, just randomly expounding some backstory. When I was a kid, it wasn't the same thing, but it felt just as artificial and contrived. When they were just arguing, well, I think Book has good ideas. No, I think he should be I thought it was dumb. Didn't buy into it at all. But as I said, I do like the showdown between Burnham and Book. I like how they're shooting weapons at each other, and I love how it goes back and forth between Burnham arguing with Commander Nan about how far they need to go to complete their mission, and at the same time you got Book arguing with Tarka about how far they need to go to complete their mission. I love that juxtaposition and the back and forth, and that Tarka was actually sort of an unknown element. But it kind of turns out that Nan was right. That if their goal was to stop Tarka from destroying the DMA at all costs, then they probably should have just killed Book, because that didn't Burnham's plan didn't work. She did manage to talk Book down, but then Tarka of course had his backup plan, which I knew he would. That was so predictable that he would not go along with this and that he would have a backup plan. So I feel like the DMA getting destroyed was kind of on Burnham. She sucks again. I think Commander Nan is always in the right. She should have killed Book this time, just like she killed Arium. But anyway, I know Book's a good guy. He's just misunderstood. But if that was their ultimate goal, that's what they should have done. But to be fair, it turns out it wasn't necessary at all, because them destroying the DMA didn't do shit, because another DMA just popped up. Although you could say it did do shit. They imply at the end of this episode, which is a conclusion I wouldn't make, but I think the fact that Burnham makes it clear to me that the episode of the show itself is telling me this is the correct conclusion, is that that the species 10C now know that they're here, and they know we're here now, and it's all ominous, they're gonna go out to get them. And to me, it's just we have this farming equipment. It died. Let's just put another one in its place. That's what I think of. I mean, I don't get the conclusion that oh my god, they're gonna come for us now, but it seems like that's what the show's trying to tell me. So, whatever. I did actually like that how just another DMA just popped right up. I thought that was really cool actually because it did show how Tarka's plan was doomed from the get-go, and how of course it dropped out the part of his whole goal was to get this power source, and it wasn't even freaking there. I was like, ha ha, when they showed that. So I like that too. That was also cool. Although I'm still not on board with Tarka's backstory of I need to get home to this parallel universe. Blah, 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 blah. They spotted that like very quickly, and I have zero connection with it, and I still think it's unnecessary. But whatever. I mean, why couldn't Tarka's motivation simply be to save lives? But whatever. It will be, and of course, Book is kind of screwed, and he's hiding now because they could have done things the right way, and actually that was a good compromise that Burnham came up with. Like, look, just wait a week. We know that DMA is not going anywhere for a week. Wait a week. Give us time to contact Species 10C, and if that doesn't go well, then we will let you do your plan with the backing of the Federation. That sounds like a really sweet deal. But now that's screwed. Tarka screwed that up for him. And so, because he would still get what he wants if it's necessary. But, and so now he's kind of on the run. So it'd be interesting to see. And it does leave kind of an ominous feeling of what comes next. Like, if this species can just instantly pop another DMA once the first one's destroyed, how are you going to stop them, and what are the consequences going to be for them destroying the first one? I do like the suspense that builds up, and I will say, for all my complaints, I do think the long-term story arc in season 4 is working better than any other season previous. Of course, we still have several episodes left. I think 3 episodes, is it? Something like that, or 4. We still have several episodes left, so they could fuck it up with the conclusion. But so far, the pacing and the way that they've been pacing the story and keeping the mystery going is actually working. Like in previous seasons, the pacing did not work, or the resolution to the mystery was a complete and total letdown, which so far this hasn't been from the information that we've gleaned so far. But, it still has this over-sentimentality shit going on and underdeveloped characters. So I think Discovery, as I said before, is never going to be anything more than a mixed bag for me. But so far this season, it may end up being my favorite of the show. But we'll see how they stick to the landing. So my rating for Rubicon out of 10 is going to be, I'm going to give this a 7. Very good. If I did 0.5s, I'd give it 7.5, but I don't do 0.5s because it's close to an 8, I would say, but I think it's closer to a 7 because of the over sentimentality, which really grated on my nerves. But the suspense was good. Some of the character interactions were good. So yeah, that worked for me. Anyway, so that is it for my review of Rubicon. I shall be back next week and every week thereafter to cover Discovery. I also cover many other Star Trek shows on my channel, as well as other shows such as Star Wars: The Clone Wars, The Expanse, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.